Welcome to the Waterfowl Den. My name is RD Reynolds, and I want to welcome you to the YouTube Live and the podcast. So, if you streaming this on any of the streaming apps, go check out RD Reynolds Outdoors on YouTube. And if you're watching this on YouTube, go subscribe to RD Reynolds Outdoor on any place that you stream podcasts. Today, our episode is brought to you by Matthew Knight with Satura Investors out of Charlotte. There's the information. The link to his website is scrolling across the banner down at the bottom, and it's also in the description. Today's episode is about helping business owners and working professionals like you who share a passion for the outdoors, shooting sports, zeroing them in to their long-term financial goals. So if you need any information or contact or any other questions, contact Matthew. Also, new to the channel, Kicks Industries, most people would know them as Kick Chotes, has partnered up with the channel. I am doing a series right now on Kick's buck chokes. I got a ton of ammunition, shotgun shells that I am testing from 2-inch, 3-inch, 3.5s, different brands of ammunition, different chokes out of different guns. Go check that out. There's other choke related episodes also on the channel, but I appreciate y'all tuning in, and today let's get started. So today I have with me Tyler from Duck Creek Decoy Works. So welcome, Tyler. Welcome to the YouTube Live and the podcast.
Yeah, JD, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So where are you from?
Originally, I'm from Minnesota, but I live in Denver now. That's where my business is based, and that's where we build the Flashbacks, is here in Denver, Colorado.
Yeah, that's a shift in coldness and weather, ain't it?
Yeah. I grew up just outside of the cities, outside of the Twin Cities, in a little town called Sunfish Lake, Minnesota, the mean streets of Sunfish Lake. So that's where I was introduced to waterfowl hunting, and thank goodness I was. It really gave me a passion for hunting and fishing and the outdoors. My family was good to me and introduced me to all that kind of stuff, and made it super important and to kind of circle the wagons every once in a while and get out and hunt and fish.
You have any family members still up there that you get back to hunt every now and then, or?
No, but I still visit the motherland every once in a while. We still have a couple lake places back up there, and God, it's fun to revisit the place where I learned how to duck hunt. My family, you really didn't have a choice whether or not you wanted to be a duck hunter. My grandfather purchased a plot of land on a lake up there, up in northern Minnesota. It's called Schaefer Lake. It's I don't know, probably 4 miles by 3 miles. Nice natural environment lake, and he would take his crew up there, and my dad up there, and he had a brother that was a Monsignor in the Catholic Church, and they would hunt ducks, and then the Monsignor would say mass for everybody on the side of the lake after they were done duck hunting. So it was it was no choice of whether or not I was going to be introduced to duck hunting.
Did that ever freeze up there? That y'all hunt all the way up to when it froze up, and then that was it, or did you keep on busting ice?
Yeah, Minnesota, that upper Midwest is tough because what happens is, it's real warm and mild when the season starts. You don't get a lot of local ducks. You don't get a lot of migrators until you get big pushes of weather. Then you got about 2 weeks that are kind of world-class hunting of ducks coming through, and then it freezes up, and then it's time to hit the deer stand. So,
really. So what's different now where you at now? So temperature,
yeah. So number one, it's the size of the wetlands, right? Like, so we used to hunt big water. We used to hunt divers and late season mallards on the big water. It was a little bit more Hemingway-esque, a little bit more adventure to go out and tackle soupy waves with ice flowing in it, and fighting with outboard motors and that kind of thing, and minus 10-degree temperatures right before the lake froze up. And out here it's smaller wetlands and kind of iconic rivers like the South Platte River. We call it a river out here, but back home they would call it more of a creek. It's just not that big. It's a real shallow river. But we hunt smaller wetlands. We do a lot of moist soil stuff at my farm right now. It's just a different style of hunting, more of a gentleman's hunt where you can, walk 500 yards from the car with a bag of decoys on your back and be on ducks, where the stuff in Minnesota was a little bit more adventurous. There were some times where we got back with the boat and got out on dry ground and wanted to kneel down and kiss it, because it gets a little bit spookier back there.
I bet so. It is crazy how much different people hunt ducks in just different locations.
Yeah. I miss like I said, it was a real short season back there till there was freeze up, but I miss the big water divers. You'd get flocks of 50, 60 bluebills coming in when it was right, and it'd sound like a jet plane coming over your head, and everybody shooting from the boat, having a good time. It's just a different style of hunting, but we try to get back there. My brother and I try to get back there every year. My brother now lives in Chicago and is part of a duck club down there, so he's still got the sickness, so to speak. But
he didn't move far from the coldness.
No, he didn't. That lake effect is something special in itself. But I got to say, it's nice to get some cold temperatures here and have 4 seasons, but it's also nice to have a 50-degree day here and there in January out here in Denver. So
yeah, I bet so. I'll be glad when fall starts coming, because I'm tired of these 100-degree weathers in South Carolina. I can promise you that.
I bet it's a little sticky down there, huh?
Oh man, that humidity is something else. Yesterday before that storm came, I think the temperature was like a 90, 91, but feel like temperature was 99, 100. It was just, it's hard to breathe in, but it feels good out there today.
I get jealous of you guys though, because you guys got the coast there, and that's a spectacular resource. It's a little bit different on the duck hunting front. You guys have some stuff that'll bite you and sting you all through your season. We don't.
That's true.
So
yeah. Got a guy from Dallas, Texas joined in on the chat there. Welcome to the chat. So how long you say you've been duck hunting, just roughly? I know you said most of your life, but
I've got a photo of me where I was in a Minnesota Vikings sweatshirt, probably when I was 4 years old, in a duck blind with my dad. And,
wow.
It was interesting. My dad was kind of a busy guy. He was an executive for Northwest Airlines at the time, now a debunked airline. But so he didn't get a lot of time for us, but it was prior to cell phones and that kind of thing. And we would sneak up to this little duck camp as a family and circle the wagons, and got some great stories from that. But my dad was the kind of guy who just wanted to introduce us to hunting and fishing, but he's also the kind of guy that you catch sleeping in the blind every once in a while. He just liked being with his boys more than anything else.
So would that be some of the lead days?
Yeah, that was lead. That was paper shotgun shell days.
Wow. I haven't been duck hunting but about 4 years now. I think this is my 4th season, but once I started, I have never financially recovered. So
yeah, it's an expensive identity, that's for sure. But
it is fun though.
Yeah, it's a great passion to have, and it's as difficult and as expensive as you want to make it. But it's taken me more beautiful places, and I've met more great people through duck hunting than just about anything else I do.
I believe that, because the hunting community is real small, and I tell you, I've met a lot of people on my YouTube adventure, and now probably maybe a month in, maybe month and a half of doing YouTube lives and podcasts. I mean, it's crazy who you meet and where people are from, and hearing the histories. It's really interesting.
Yeah. And I used, I've got 2 young ones now, so I don't travel as much as I used to. I don't follow the ducks like I used to, but just some of the places it takes you is spectacular, from all the way down from Montana to South Dakota. There's places that I would never have seen if I was in pheasant hunting or duck hunting or deer hunting or whatever it may be. I love the big game stuff too here in the state, and chasing elk up in the mountains when the aspen are turning with a bow. It's pretty unbelievable time. I hope to get more of that into my schedule as my boys get older, and maybe they can carry me around in a sedan chair and do the elk calling for me.
I know how you feel. I got an 8-year-old, and to take him hunting, I mean, you got to carry everything of his too, and then some days actually carrying him, and it's just like, I just can't wait till you get a little bit older so that you can pull your weight around here.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, but it's cool that, like, as a dad, it doesn't get any better than teaching your kids some kind of craft like that, and
that's right.
They get to join that fraternity and see what goes down out at the farm here. And, they get to actually catch the occasional frog or turtle or fish without having to look it up on an iPad. So that's kind of a neat thing.
I understand that. I got a pond in the front yard. I know how boys are. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to see or do.
Yeah. It's a little bit. Oh, go ahead.
So how long has Duck Creek Decoy Works been? Tell us about the history of the company itself.
Yeah, it's kind of the great American business story, I like to think of it as. I mean, we started building these things in my garage, and then moved up to my basement, my unfinished basement, for a while. And boy, it just shot off. Now we're in a pretty nice facility here, and we're cranking these things out. But I'll take a step back even further. I've always tried to work in some outdoor related industries. So when I graduated from CU, it was kind of during that .com boom where anybody with a pulse could get a $70,000 a year job, and joined a .com company out of Minneapolis, moved back home and joined this .com company, and we got bought out, and within a year, right before Christmas, they lined us up and shot us and gave us our walk-in papers, and that was a tough lesson. It kind of had a big effect on me, and I said, if I'm going to spend the majority of my time at work, I want to work for something that I really believe in. So from there, I got in the truck and took a job as the outdoor editor for the Craig Daily Press up in Craig, Colorado. It's not exactly the Wall Street Journal, but it was a little town in Colorado that's kind of the epicenter of elk hunting in the United States. It's just phenomenal elk hunting and some great natural resources around there. I worked for the Craig Daily Press for 3 years, and then went to work for the Colorado Division of Wildlife in their public affairs department, and worked there for 10 years. And, while I was working there, I because of that connection with my family's duck camp up in central or northern Minnesota, I just thought it was super important to buy a place where that I could use like that for my family one day. And so before I was married or had kids, or before I bought a house, or even a brand new car, I went and bought a farm that had some duck hunting potential, and started hunting out there. It was a small inholding in a large landowner's place right there along the South Platte, and that landowner didn't allow duck hunting on his place. So I was surrounded by thousands of acres of sanctuary, and
wow,
it was tough hunting, actually, because of that sanctuary. I kept having these days where we'd have 500 to 1,000 mallards flying over us at 200 yards, and you couldn't trick them, you couldn't call to them, you couldn't turn them, and so
they knew where they were going.
So so that's the genesis of the Flashback. I started working on something. I had this kind of epiphany: if I could make a motion decoy that actually looked like a real duck and not a koi pond water feature, I might be able to trick these ducks and show them that they were safe there, and allude to them that there's a food source there. So started working with some styrofoam and hardware in the bathtub at my house, and slowly started developing the Flashback.
So that was version 1, and I know because looking at your website that you're on version 2, and it still says that they're still all made in the United States. Everything's still.
We're real proud of that. We're real proud of that. My philosophy has always been that if we can manufacture something correctly here in the United States, control the quality of it, there's nothing worse than burning a bunch of time and resources and getting your family together and getting people to fly in from out of state, be all excited to go on a hunt, and then have equipment problems. So we wanted to be the Cadillac of motion decoys, so to speak. And I think we've done a great job of reaching that pinnacle. Our product's a little bit more expensive than everybody else's, but I hope people appreciate the American ingenuity that went into it, and the quality that goes into it, and the fact that you're not throwing it in a dumpster after a couple of hunts.
Right. And on one of my topics that talk about is the paint, and we'll get to that section. But, like you said, the quality, some of them cheap decoys that you just buy at Walmart, man, it does not take. I mean, like one hunt and you throw them in the kayak and the paint just like comes off of them. I mean, it's just like, man, them things were brand new. I'm glad I got them 50% off at the end of the season, but it doesn't take much to knock the paint off of them.
Yeah, personally, I just hate buying something twice or 3 times. It just drives me crazy. And we wanted to do something different. And I think we've done a good job of doing that, and we keep adding to the durability. We got some things up our sleeve here that I think your audience will be pretty excited about. We keep expanding our product line and keep putting the good people of the United States to work. So we're excited about that.
So what's your favorite bird to hunt?
Oh, from a duck perspective, definitely it's late season mallards. I love just a freezing cold day on the South Platte. Just to explain a little bit how it works out here. So when we get these cold January days, all the ducks, so everything else besides the river freezes up. All the ducks come back to the river, and it's almost like cheating. So
that's kind of that's what kind of happens to us too. The pond freezes over, and we have to head to the river. But
yeah, those are the best days when it's so cold that your dog doesn't want to go out to pee from the duck camp. That's when it's going to be a good day. So I love sitting on the banks of the South Platte during a good blizzard and just watching ducks materialize out of the clouds. It's the best.
Yeah, I can't say that we ever have any blizzards. A blizzard would shut South Carolina down. There would be so many people that probably would die in South Carolina if we had a blizzard. Like, there would be no bread or milk anywhere. I mean, once the news says there were chances of snow, man, your chances of getting bread at the grocery store is done. I mean, it is unbelievable. Like, they start icing the road with de-icer days before we get any snow. South Carolina can't handle no snow.
Oh,
we don't get a whole lot of mallards. Occasionally we get a few, but they pretty much stop in North Carolina.
Okay. Well, you know what? It's still wonderful to shoot a teal or a wood duck or some of those little less hardy species, but
right. We got a lot of wood ducks, mergansers, ringnecks, diver. We got a good bit of divers, but yeah, when you hit a mallard or something, man, that's the cherry on top for sure.
Well, that's cool, and blackjacks are stunning little ducks. I mean, they're spectacular looking. There's nothing better than watching a black lab carry a blackjack back to the blind. I mean, all ducks have their place and their time, and that's the great thing about duck hunting is you never know what's coming in next. So
right now, we use a lot of mallard decoys, and I know version 2 of your Flashback is a mallard and a hen, and like I said, we're going to start talking about that soon. We use a lot of mallard decoys just for the sheer size. Definitely, if we could get a wood duck version of it, man, that probably would be hot in South Carolina for sure.
Yeah, well, we've been getting a lot of requests for a lot of different species, and we're getting there. We're getting there. So I think people need to keep subscribing to us and get our email updates so we tell them what's coming next. But you know, from my perspective, I'm always looking at making this decoy a little bit more durable and a little bit more easier to use. So that's where we're concentrating our efforts right now, and we're probably going to come out with some stuff this season that should make it a little bit more user friendly and even a better decoy. You know, the thing that I really enjoy about the Flashback is that it hints back to the traditional duck decoy, which is kind of the original American folk art, so to speak. So you know, the way our decoy works is you just kind of set it and forget it. I think George Foreman said. So you plug that battery in and you let it out there in your spread, put it out there in your spread, and it works for you. There's not a lot of readjusting to do or anything like that. And the more we can make duck hunting into just an enjoyable kind of aesthetically pleasing sport and hint back to the original roots of duck hunting, I think the more people appreciate our decoy.
So I'm going to pull up the website here. I'm going to share the screen and pull it up.
Sure.
So people can see what we're talking about here. So this is version 2. How long? I went back and watched some videos. How long version 2 been out? What, 2-3 years over version 1?
That's actually still version 1 there, JD. So we came out with the version 2. Let's see, was it 3 years ago? 3 years ago, and that's when we really started ramping up our production. The changes are we used to use a sealed lead acid battery that was about 6 pounds, and now we went to a lithium battery that's about 6 ounces. So a lot easier to carry in for the guys who like to hunt public land. So that's kind of nice. The other thing we did is that version there that you see working is just paint on styrofoam. And we added a truck bed coating that I like to call it, kind of our secret sauce. Yeah, there you can see the little bit of texture that's on there. That makes that paint a lot more durable and the body a lot more durable. It can stand a lot more abuse and honestly just looks a lot more like a duck. It's a lot more like a flock decoy than the original styrofoam version.
So I know I went back to this picture, but it can do more than what we're seeing currently on the screen, right?
Yeah, so that's the dabbling motion that you see there, just like a feeding duck. There's also a surface feeding motion, and it's really simple. It just takes seconds to convert into that surface feeding motion, and people can see that on my Instagram channel. We've got a bunch of videos and displays on how to use the surface feeding motion. You can also go to our YouTube channel to check that out. But what that does is
here's the YouTube channel that you were talking about. I got it pulled up. It shows you how to replace parts, replace heads. I'm sure nobody ever shoots the decoys. You know, that probably never happens.
Yeah,
I've shot my decoys before.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens. They get in the way sometimes.
Well, you know, my brother really enjoys coming out and shooting the occasional decoy of mine. Just to let me know that he's still my brother, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't have any siblings, but I have 2 kids, and I can understand that brotherly, sisterly love that they have.
Yeah.
But yes, on the website here it shows quick tips and how to transport and all kind of different stuff on there.
Scroll to see that decoy that you were just, or that video that you were just on right there, where the decoy is kind of turned over in my hand.
This one,
yeah, that's how you put together the surface feeding motion. If you have the ability to click on that, but
you gotta love watching the ad.
Yeah.
Here we go. All right.
So the surface feeding motion's awesome, and it just takes a couple seconds to work in. You just essentially take the cord and put it around the bottom of the decoy, and it prevents the head from going all the way through and rotating all the way through, and it kicks out some nice ripples. You know, we have a bunch of clients and customers that use 10 or 12 of these in their spread, and they'll do half and half. That action also works in up to 4 inches of water, where the dabbling motion requires like 9 inches of water. So, but you'll see here, it just kicks out nice ripples. It'll move your traditional decoys with the water that it moves. And actually, a lot of guys talk about how well it keeps water open when stuff's freezing. So
Right.
just a really nice kind of secret weapon that you can have in your toolkit there. So
And just from the videos, I mean, like you said, it looks like it does put out a good bit of ripples. And I was looking at it, the idea of one of the ponds I hunt is you could basically throw a decoy from one side to the other side. And when I saw it originally, I'm like, that head flipping probably really could add a lot of ripples, and then I wouldn't have to keep using a jerk string.
Yeah, I think that was one of my issues on my farm was, it's a real small wetland. I'd be lucky if it's an acre. And, if the wind wasn't blowing 40 miles an hour, you just had a bunch of stale decoys sitting out there, and it wasn't going to happen. And, there's a time and a place for a spinning wing decoy. I think spinning wing decoys are hyper effective, especially in fields. But where we hunt, by the time the birds get to us, they're pretty educated. And I think our action's so realistic that they're not going to be able to catch on to this. Even if everybody from Saskatchewan on down is hunting over a flashback, it's just too realistic.
So you got this video here. Let's see. Let's play it. And you can explain while that's playing too if you see something that stands out.
Yeah.
But I do like how it bobs and turns at the same time. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think another really cool function of it, and you can't see this from the video, but the head is driven with neodyne magnets. So essentially the neodyne magnets act as a clutch. And so that way, if you get tangled in weeds, all it's going to do is clutch and go into that surface feeding motion and kind of go back and forth between the dabbling motion and the surface feeding motion. And man,
so basically what you're saying is if something messes up, you ain't got to go back out there and fix your decoy. It's still got some action going on.
Not only that, but worse yet, you don't have to, you're not going to strip the motor or overheat the motor. Yep. Those magnets are just going to slip, and you keep right on hunting. It adds a really realistic dimension to it. In fact, a lot of guys set it up in the weeds so that, it may dabble twice and then clutch a couple of times and then dabble again. And I mean, we talk to customers all the time that have people sneaking up on them trying to jump shoot their decoys. So
really,
yeah. So it tricks people for sure. So it's got to trick the ducks too.
Wow. So how long does the battery life last? Is the new battery affected by the temperature like that old square battery?
Yeah, there's still, environmental conditions always have an impact on the battery life, but at the very least, you're going to get 9 hours out of a relatively new lithium battery. But as a decoy maker, I'll be perfectly honest with you, JD. These lithium batteries are kind of the bane of our existence, right? Because you can't get a well-made lithium battery here in the United States without passing on extreme price gouge to your customers. So unfortunately, it's the one part that we have to get from China. Are these cheap chintzy lithium batteries? But later on this year, I think we're going to introduce something that will be an option besides these cheap lithium batteries, and we're going to Americanize this thing a little bit, so to speak.
That's a cool. I understand what you're talking about with the batteries, because we try to buy some batteries sometimes too, and you got to wait forever to get them. So on the website there, here's the replaceable parts. I mean, it pretty much looks like once you buy it, everything's replaceable.
That's correct. So there's essentially, 4 different parts to this. There's the battery box, the body, the waterproof motor compartment, which you see there in the center, and then the head. And you remove one nut on the Flashback decoy, you can take every part comes off. So just with the removal of one nut, we've got a bunch of videos up about that.
Right.
But,
yeah, I've seen that. It's in that video right there. It has that, and it's not a huge nut either. I mean, it just goes together. But I guess this video here is basically that magnet you were talking about.
That's correct.
How it works.
Yep.
And that's a pretty cool idea.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, we're pretty proud of it. And you know, the nice thing is you don't have to throw it in the dumpster. If it breaks, you just get a new body. And you know as well as I do, every hunter has a different way of treating their gear. And some guys are super tough on their gear, and some guys aren't. And accidents happen where they fall off the back of your truck or the back of your side by side. And it's nice to have a replacement part at your house after ordering it off the website in 3 days. Get that decoy back up and running. The season's so short, instead of having to send it in or buy a new one. So,
and at least like you said, made in USA during COVID, when you couldn't get hardly anything and everything was back ordered. At least when it's made in USA, you got more control of getting product and getting it to the customer versus it sitting out in a boat and off the coast of California where a lot of our stuff was.
Yeah, that's correct. I've been fortunate. We've got our plastic supplier, the guy who supplies all of our plastic parts, is out of Scottsdale, Arizona. He's been great to us and works with us. And, as we grow here, it becomes more and more difficult to manage inventory and kind of get the right numbers before the season goes. So he's always willing to put in a last minute order for us. And it just feels good to work with American companies.
So on your website, you got a hen and a drake. You can buy one, or you could buy a package.
Yep. We've got the limited edition Duck Club Double, which is both of them. And we get guys and outfitters all the time and duck clubs all the time that'll buy, 8 drakes, 4 hens, whatever the case may be. You can mix and match it. And we're looking to come out with some new species here in the near future.
I can't wait. I hope one of them's a wood duck. I don't know. People say wood ducks like decoys. Some people say you can call them. I'm on the I don't think they're gonna come unless they just want to come. So anything that makes it look more real, hey, I'm down for it. That's for sure.
Hey, that's cool. I kind of think wood ducks are almost like turkeys. Someday you find the right turkey and you feel like the world's greatest turkey hunter. You can open a fence gate and the thing will come. I agree with you.
And that might be one of the best illustrations of a wood duck. I mean, sometimes if you ain't on the spot, they ain't coming. I mean,
that's it. And then there's other days where wood ducks, it doesn't seem like you can trick them with anything. You could have live ducks out there and they don't show interest. But I think they're similar to turkeys. But obviously, I love the days when you feel like the world's greatest duck hunter, when they could just come soaring in. So
yeah, and they're beautiful birds.
Oh, stunning and wonderful on the plate too.
So I had it on my list, and we already talked about it, but we'll bring it back up. That paint is like a spray and bed liner kind of paint, so it's definitely tough. How did and it might be a secret, and you might not want to say it, but how do you get that toughness on UV paint? And I mean, does it really affect the ducks? I mean, how are they seeing it? Half these decoy boxes be like, oh, it's the best paint ever. How do you get it tough but still could have the right amount of paint on it?
Well, honestly, it's the people that work for me are outstanding. We've got some real artists here. Every once in a while we get a good customer or a friend of mine that wants to experiment with a new species. And we've got some of the best artists here spraying these things and putting the right colors in the right spot. And you probably noticed we kind of accentuate some of the black and the white, so you get that strobe effect from a distance. Right. So it might be not like those little side patches on the tail end, those little white stripes are are probably larger on the decoy than they are in real life on a real life duck. But I like the strobe effect that we get, and you can see it turn ducks when you get that flashing going over the darker water. So I'm a big proponent in kind of modifying it and looking at it a little bit more. And then, we've got some pretty ingenuitive customers that will even enhance it the way that they see fit. So, yeah,
I noticed also on your website, you occasionally have some on the where did I see that at? I know I saw it somewhere.
Blemish decoys?
Blemish kind of deal. Does that like come available? If somebody's on the fence of like, hey, I want to try some, but I don't want to pay, full price. Can I get a blemish? There is some on your website, correct?
That's correct. They're sold out now, but we introduce a big bunch of them every spring, and those are the decoys that there might be a little bit of a mistake with the paint job, or might have one of the wings that's torn or something like that, where we can't sell it as a brand new decoy, but it's still a perfectly good functioning decoy. And between you and I, it's going to take the ducks hovering about 5 feet over the top of it to really see any kind of mistake like that. So if you aren't pulling the trigger by then, you got other issues as a hunter, I guess.
Right. And, just throwing it out there, somebody was looking at it and they do see one of them blemishes and they buy it, you got replaceable parts down the road too.
That's correct.
So
That's correct.
It doesn't, a blemish of a paint job or scratch or something, you can get a year or two out of it and then replace that body panel with another body panel and keep on trucking.
Yeah. And, we know that our price is a little bit more than other decoys in the motion market like ours, but, I try to think up ways of how we can get that price lower. And the blemish decoys were one way of doing that. Instead of going back and repainting, let's just put them in the blemish pile and start again with a new one. But they function just as every bit as good as a standard flashback tube. So
have you been to any shows lately, or any upcoming shows that your crew's going to? Or
no, JD, it's a big mistake of mine, to be honest, but I don't get out there as much as I probably should. But like I said, I'm a dad and a small business owner and a farm owner, and I got a lot of irons in the fire. But we're looking to change that for next year. There's also part of me that's just my personality. I'm not super comfortable about chest beating about our products.
right.
It's tough for me to go out and meet the general public and try to give them the hard sell on this. And we've been fortunate enough where the duck hunting public kind of speaks for our decoys for us. But that's something that I need to change here going into the future. We'll probably put together a booth and have a bunch of our products rolling in a tank in front, and get to meet some other good people in the industry and other good duck hunters. I did go a couple of years back. I went to the World Calling Championships in Stuttgart, and that was a thrill. Got to meet some of the guys that I've been watching on YouTube for a long time, and they love the decoy. And it's fun to meet people, but it's exhausting. And as we grow here, maybe I can get some younger kids and some guys who use our decoys and are excited about it to kind of go out and represent us while I'm taking care of my kids here at home. So
yeah, I know what you mean. Like I said earlier, I got kids, and man, I tell you, they don't stay little long, and you gotta be with them. So I completely understand.
Yeah, I got one that plays hockey, so that completely screws up my schedule too. But as dads, that's the most important job we're going to have, is raising those kids right. So I want to be, I want to be here for them. But you know what? I really want to hit that Delta show next year. Delta's been a great supporter of ours, and I think it would be just fun it's always fun to see what people think. So
yeah, me and another guy, he's got a YouTube channel, and that's what I told him. I said, man, I want to hit some of them shows next year. I can't. I mean, I listen to the podcast with people going and see the videos, and I would like to see the duck calling, but the duck calling competition probably wouldn't be something I would want to just sit there and watch, because it's not the sounds that they really make, but the events that had the dogs and all the vendors, I think that's what would attract me. I love watching them dogs just jump, and I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. No, and it's great to just kind of hook up with the rest of our fraternity, right? As waterfowlers, it's kind of nice to be around your own kind. And the other important thing is you can always learn from somebody who's hunted different areas of the country, or somebody else who's a passionate duck hunter. Keep your ears open. You always come back with a couple of tips that you can put to work for you when you get back to your home blind. So yeah, it's something that we're going to pick up here with as we grow a little bit more. But you know, between COVID and some other stuff in the past few years, it's there's some growing pains that come with this. But it's one side of the marketing that we've kind of dropped the ball on, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, and COVID hurt a lot of people. So maybe post-COVID next year could be your year.
Yeah, it's just been tough to justify it too, because from our standpoint, you know, we sell out of our inventory during the season every year that we've been running. So that, I mean, we've been super fortunate on that front. But to then go and pay a bunch of money and use a bunch of resources and time to go to a show is pretty tough when we don't have the inventory to really push those sales anyway. So that's another thing that it's kind of a reverse blessing. But yeah,
that's where that made in America, and well, if we get too big, then we're probably gonna have to start outsourcing, and then the quality could be affected. So it makes sense.
Yeah, well, there's a couple words that you won't hear come out of my mouth, and one of them is outsourcing, and the other one is planned obsolescence. That phrase right there will get you fired at Duck Creek Decoy Works.
Yeah. So we've been talking about 45 minutes. You said there's going to be some new stuff coming out. So any hints, or we're just going to have to watch the social media to kind of.
Yeah, just keep an eye on the social media. I don't want to show that much leg at this time. So
okay. So maybe this time next year we'll have you back on, and maybe there'll be a version 3. There might be a wood duck, maybe.
I think that we'll be looking at other species and doing that kind of thing, and just making it a more durable and better product all the time. We're always looking to upgrade it. I mean, that's the key to success. If I manufacture good decoys, the rest will take care of itself. So
that's right.
The word's getting out about the Flashback. You know, it's kind of a strange niche market. Guys don't like to tell their secrets, but you'd be surprised at some of the duck hunters and the notoriety that they have that use the Flashback.
Well, I think it's a great invention. I mean, for a pond like I'll hunt out of, I think it would be great. I see. You know, you talked about the depths. How would you use that in like a river scenario? Say my ponds freeze over. How would I utilize the same decoy in a river that would be deeper? Is there a way that I can secure that to just using a traditional like a Texas rig or something, or?
No, so you know, our battery box. So when you purchase the decoy, it comes with old school kind of herder's style weight, and that attaches to the battery box that then acts like the traditional decoy anchor. But you can always add weight to that. There's a little loop on the battery box that allows you to add additional weight, and you know, it can be super effective in that current, because you talked about it kind of twisting and moving like that earlier.
Right.
The motion just is enhanced by moving water. So, you know, obviously if it's you're not going to be able to use these things in white water or anything like that. They're going to blow up. But nice slow little current or a little back eddy, they can be fantastic. Again, really realistic motion. I think one of the other things that I would encourage people to do who have flashbacks is late season, especially, just go out with a couple flashbacks and maybe a couple standard decoys. So maybe you're over a spread of a total of 4 to 6 decoys. And, we're so used to, as hunters, putting out so many late season decoys. Those ducks start pairing up in late January. And I think even using 2 of the flashbacks, one in that surface feeding motion and one in the dabbling motion, pair of mallards like that can be hyper effective.
How deep of a water would be traditionally like too deep?
So we have guys who hunt them up to 20 feet. You can buy extensions off our website, and they just keep adding
cord.
Yep. So they just keep adding extensions, and we've got a bunch of guys in the upper Midwest that swear by them and swear by the effectiveness on divers. So they'll add them to their rig outside of their gang rig just because they get that extra motion and that extra strobe and flash. So some of these guys are hunting in pretty deep water. At a certain point, that battery box becomes buoyant, and I think the deepest that I've had a customer tell me that he hunts them is 20 feet.
Yeah, we don't have nothing. I'm not hunting anything that deep. I was thinking like 8, 9 feet.
No, that's nothing to hunt 8 or 9 feet. There's guys in Minnesota all the time that I know, friends of mine that hunt them at 8 to 9 feet. So yeah, that's no sweat on the flashback at all. Great in salt water, great in brackish water. I recommend that you won't hose it off just like anything else that you would use, like a fly rod or whatever. Just hose it off when you're done. But the foam isn't affected by it. The motor's in a waterproof compartment. We use all stainless stuff on the hardware front.
And with that magnet that you talked about earlier, there's no grime of the salt water that would affect any kind of gear moving kind of deal. And I hunt a lot. We hunt a lot down towards Savannah and stuff that it's marsh. It goes out with the tide and comes back in salt water. So it is definitely some eating some stuff.
Yeah, we think we've built the most low maintenance decoy there is, or motion decoy there is. So, to be perfectly honest, I know I've got access to a bunch of them, but it can be a cold January day, and I'll be hunting the South Platte here that's full of gravel, and gravel will get in there, and I'll just take them before we're done and shake them out in the water a little bit, throw them in the bed of the truck, let them sit outside, -10, -20. Throw them right back in the water, and these things will crank up.
Yeah. And that freezing, like you said, that head is just on that magnetic part of it. So, there's no gears. So that's a pretty sweet design.
Well, thanks for saying that.
Yeah, well, anything else you want to talk about before we close out, or?
Well, I always love talking about hunting. It's always good to talk about hunting, but I love listening to stories down hunting in the South there. So it's interesting that you guys get a lot of wood ducks. That's something that we'll make a mental note of and see if we can come up with a wood duck version of the flashback for you.
Yeah, we're fixing to start dove season. Dove season, what is today? August. I think dove starts September, whatever Labor Day is, they'll start that day. So dove season is usually our first chance of practicing for waterfowl. But here in South Carolina, we get an early goose season. So that starts September 1st. So I'm definitely planning on doing some goose hunting. I see your silhouettes in the background there.
Yeah, those are some old 1920s goose silhouettes. It looks like one's pecking me in the head there, but that's not by design.
Is that cardboard paper style?
No, these are wood. These are wood from the 1920s. With a local guy here that's kind of well known painted, so they're kind of a prized possession of mine. But dove season. I'm not above getting humbled by a couple of doves before it gets into waterfowl.
Yeah, those are kind of like teals. They'll make you humble real quick.
Yeah, it's a good
We
thing.
have a teal season. We have a scheduled teal season on the calendar, but they show up one afternoon and they could be gone tomorrow. I mean they hit South Carolina so fast that uh, we really don't call them early teal season because they either not here or they just so quick and they're gone. But occasionally we get some teal. I shot a blue wing off the coast last year.
Nice.
That felt like the holy grail. But yeah, I'd like to see the statistic for South Carolina. How many people probably killed a cinnamon? I mean, it would have to be caught in a tornado somewhere and get blown out over the way to be in South Carolina. But
Yeah.
well, we get a good selection of birds.
We get depending upon the year, we get a fair amount of blue wings here during our early teal season, and then we've got a lot of green wings, and they'll stick around all through the season. They're a little hardier than the blue wings are. So, and yeah, we do get the occasional cinnamon, but I haven't been fortunate enough to shoot a real nice cinnamon Drake stud, but when I do, he'll definitely be up on the wall sometime. So
yeah, I don't blame you on that one. I got a green wing up there, and my blue wing's getting mounted now. But yeah, we get now. I don't know if you can see it, but down there below the TV, we got a reservoir in our town that we get a huge selection of ruddy ducks.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, cool. None of them's in summer plumage. I shot one last year, and his nose was still blue, but the rest of his body was already gone. I mean, he done lost all his plumage. But I was like, man, if I could only got you like a month earlier.
Yeah. Well, that's why we keep hunting, right? To get those trophies and get those checked off the bucket list. But yeah, we're real fortunate out here. The South Platte provides a great mixed bag of birds, and you can see everything from mergansers to the occasional black duck, and there's always the random story that you see in the newspaper about a guy who shot some kind of ocean duck, an old squaw or something like that somehow lost its way. But yeah, we're real fortunate. I love hunting the South Platte because of that. You never know what the next group of birds down the river is going to be.
That's exactly true. You never know what cold front's going to push something either. And like you said, I'm below Charlotte, North Carolina, where I'm in South Carolina, but I'm right below Charlotte. So it takes us about 3 hours to get to our coast, but the Outer Banks of North Carolina takes about 6 hours. And I mean, just the difference between the Outer Banks of North Carolina and South Carolina is major. I mean, but up in North Carolina and the Outer Banks, they have so many refuge up there that's where they go to. I mean, it is crazy the hunting that's up in the Outer Banks of North Carolina. They got where you can get a swan permit. I shot a swan last year, and I'm hoping to have the guy on the live and podcast soon that I went with. But I mean, it's right beside a refuge, and I'm talking about tens of thousands of swans, and I mean, like 50, 60 acres of just white bodies. I mean, it's crazy that's where they go every year. The swans just go, and I mean, they literally mow down 5-6 acres overnight. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, they're spectacular birds and a great conservation story. When I was growing up in Minnesota, to see a swan would be just incredible. And now, like I was up there earlier this summer doing some fishing with my kids, and there were pairs of swans everywhere. So I think hunters need to give themselves a pat on the back for the story like the swan, because that's conservation at its best, that they're coming back that strong. And some of these states are starting to open up the hunting on it.
And that's a huge bird too. And it is, I got video that I put on my channel of just after you only get one bird, you shot your bird. And I mean, you just looking up and there's birds everywhere, and they're so huge. And I mean, they fly just like a ringneck or a lesser. I mean, they will invert too. And I'm like, how in the world is that big old bird flying upside down in
Yeah.
his head? I mean, there's a big old bird to be doing acrobatic stunts like that.
Yeah, they're a stunning bird for sure, and definitely one that's on my bucket list if I can hit the right state where you can get a tag for one. Or
Yeah, it took me 3 years at North Carolina.
yeah, well, that's a good accomplishment.
Yeah, yeah, it was that was a really fun hunt. This year I'm going out to Texas, to hunt early geese and specks. So that's going to be pretty cool. I ain't never went past the Mississippi, so
Well, good.
it's going to be something different.
I hope that trip's a wonderful one for you. It's always good to see new turf and see how people do it in a different state or a different region or a different habitat. So,
Right.
yeah, I think the more
you hear them people talk, they talking about A-frames and A-blinds, or they hunting cornfields and don't have to put on waders, but they're resetting every single day.
Yeah.
So I definitely want on my list would be snow goose hunting. Them guys that chasing them snow geese and just see the tornado of snows would be awesome. That's definitely on the to-do list.
God, a good day of snow goose hunting is sure fun, especially during that late conservation season or early conservation season, depending upon how you look at it. But it can also be.
Y'all get much of them?
Yeah, we have a late conservation season here, and we've got some reservoirs on the eastern plains that attract a lot of snow geese. But boy, it's a tough hunt. It's in a pretty brutal. They're usually in a pretty brutal place where it's usually blowing 50 miles an hour, and you're out setting up decoys at starting at 3 a.m. And if you shoot one or two geese, you kind of wonder, why did I come out today? But when they work right and they get off the reservoir and come towards your spread, it's sure an exciting deal. So
right, and they like a lot of decoys, is what I read in here, and e-collars.
Yep. That late season we can use e-collars here in the state, but yeah, and it's phenomenal. They all seem to get off the reservoir at one time, and you just got your fingers crossed that they're heading in your direction. But otherwise, you spend a lot of time setting up decoys for no reason. But it's a great hunt, and like I said, just a great resource anymore for people to experience.
So how can people get in touch with you? Obviously, I showed the website, but tell them your website name.
Yeah, I think the easiest way is flashbackdecoys.com. You can also, if you put Duck Creek Decoy Works duckcreekdecoys.com, that'll also take you to our site. So we're pretty easy to find. You can find us on Instagram, again, Duck Creek Decoys, at Duck Creek Decoys. So
and there's usually a good bit of, you usually have a good bit of stuff on the Instagram too. So I mean, there's Instagram, you got a lot going on, posting stuff too.
Yeah, I'm starting to take it more seriously, and I'll be perfectly honest, I'm not a big Facebook guy or social media guy, but I know it's important to our business, so I'm diving into it, even though there are days where it feels like it robs my soul a little bit. But if there's something on there that I think is a cool video or something that other hunters can enjoy or get a tip out of or whatever, we're definitely going to start posting it. We're going to be working with some of our partners to be a little bit more active in that space.
I got you. And obviously we said YouTube, and you got YouTube. So is it Duck Creek? What did I had it pulled up. Is it Duck Creek Decoys on YouTube?
Yeah, Duck Creek Decoy Works. We'll get you there. If you do a search for it, you'll find it. So
yeah, I changed screens. I was trying to pull it back up there.
Oh, that's okay. People
there
want.
We go.
Oh, there you go. There you got it now. What are we under there?
Duck Creek Decoy Works.
Yep. Duck Creek
And then
Decoy.
there's the icon or logo that is on Instagram and stuff like that. So
Yeah. Yeah, and you can find just a ton of information about how our decoys work and that kind of thing. And, people can give us a call too. I'm usually here working the phones every once in a while. So 844-510-DUCK. We'll get you to our hotline here, and we'll help you out with your decoys or tell you about it if you got some questions.
Sweet. Well, I appreciate your time coming in. I think that's about it. I think you got a good product going on, and I can see it definitely working in South Carolina. That's for sure.
JD, you've been very gracious. We appreciate the kind words. Thanks so much for having us on. If there's anything I can do to help you, or if you ever swing out here to Colorado, give me a holler, okay?
Sounds good. And like I said, I'm going to keep in touch. Whenever there's a new product drop, I'm probably going to hit you up again. I'll have you back on, and we'll talk about it.
Hey, we'll do a little bit of chest beating about it then, okay?
Sounds good. I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody joining in. Click that like and subscribe button. Share this video. Share this video with your friends. Get the word out on Duck Creek Decoys, and we appreciate everybody coming. We'll see you later. Bye.
Thanks, JD.